Hello, hope you all are doing well. This is the seventh lecture in this series of multithreading in Java. In this lecture, we will deep dive into some important concepts about synchronized keyword, and we will go through some advanced usages of synchronized keywords. And typically, the concepts that I'm going to explain in this lecture series are such that very few people actually read about it, and if you want to read about it, you should read about it in a book named Concurrency Practice in Java by Mr. Brian Goetz. It's a very good book, and I suggest you guys to go through it. I have mentioned the link of that book in my description box also, so if you want, you can check that book out. So let us begin with the lecture. Now, the first concept that I want to talk about in this lecture is deciding objects for the locks that we take inside synchronization. Now, we have studied about how you can use the synchronized keyword to handle mutual exclusion for the critical sections of your code, and how you can in the synchronized keyword you can provide an argument, an object inside the argument on whose monitor a lock is taken. Now, we studied that whenever you synchronize a complete method, always the lock is taken on the instance object to which the method belongs to. Now, there are several problems with taking the lock on the instance objects because it actually hampers your performance a lot. Let's say you have to write a synchronized synchronized code 3 or 4 times in your same class, but all the 3 or 4 instances of your synchronized code don't need to be mutually exclusive in respect to each other. That is, all 3 or 4 parts of the synchronized code that you have written in the class can be executed parallelly, only they shouldn't be executed parallelly individually. That is, if you have 4 instances of synchronized code in your class, all of them independently can run at the same point of time, but it shouldn't be the case that one of them is being accessed by 2 threads at a time. So, but if you create synchronization and take the lock on the instance object, there will only be one method or one part of the one synchronized block which will be running at a single point of time. So you are actually degrading your performance by 75%. That is, you are only using 25% of the capability of your system, whereas you could have synchronized it on 4 separate lock objects, and by taking locks on 4 separate objects, you would have still made sure that critical section of your code shouldn't be executed parallelly by multiple threads, but still those 4 independent synchronized blocks would have run at the same point of time. So it is always better to create separate objects for separate locks on code blocks if the blocks themselves don't require to be mutually exclusive. So this is the first point that I want to enhance, that it is always better if you have multiple synchronized code blocks in a single class. You should always try to create separate locks if those code blocks can be executed independently. If those 2 code blocks or those n number of code blocks are independent of each other, they are not, it is not required to make sure that their execution is also synchronized. You should always create separate locks, and you should take separate objects and take locks on those separate objects. Now, taking locks on instance variable is the easiest way, but rarely it produces the best result performance wise. As I explained, that if you take lock on an instance variable, since for a same instance you can have multiple synchronized blocks written, so it will make sure that all the synchronized blocks are if you have n synchronized blocks, only one can run at a single point of time. Now, one very important concept that I'm going to explain here, which lots of people while using synchronization miss, is in the production environment. That is, whenever there are multiple instances of the same code which is running, which is exactly the case in the production environment, the synchronized keyword only ensures one thread accessing the critical code in single instance concurrently. So if you have 5 instances running, 5 threads can still execute the critical section code concurrently, one thread in each of the instances. So if you want to ensure that that single part of code should run only from all of the instances, only one instance, and from that instance only one thread can run it, you should make sure that synchronized is used, and also a lock is taken, and the variable of the lock should be kept in some centralized repo. That is, you can take the lock using some centralized database where all the 5 instances can check that whether that lock is present to take or it is actually logged right now. So whenever you are running your code in a production environment where multiple instances of your code is running, don't rely on the synchronized keyword completely. If you want that from all the instances which are running, only one thread should execute the critical section concurrently, you should always make the lock object and keep the lock object in a central repo where all the instances can look up that whether that lock object is free to grant a lock or that object is currently being used by some other thread. Now this is another concept which many people don't know, and many people actually get very much tangled when it is asked in the interviews. It is on the concept of visibility. Now let us take an example that previously we studied about critical sections of code and race conditions. We said that whenever there is a case where multiple threads are trying to modify a variable, there will be a race condition, and then only we need to synchronize those access to the critical section of your code. Now what if only one thread is trying to modify a variable and all other threads are reading it? Do we still need to synchronize that part of the code? The answer is yes. Now you will say that okay, why? Because if there is only one thread which is trying to modify that code, there is no way that your code execution will be wrong. Your thinking is correct, but actually what happens is, since we know that threads execute in separate CPU cores, for faster execution, what JVM does is it caches the variables into separate CPU registers. So let's say you have 3 threads running, 2 are trying to read and 1 is trying to write. Now if the 3 threads are running into 3 different cores of your CPU, there can be a case that the thread which is writing, it changed the variable only in the cache of its local CPU, and that change is not committed to the main memory. So now when the other threads are reading, they are trying to read it from their local CPU cache or from the main memory. So there is no way for them to get the updated data. Now this phenomenon doesn't need to happen very regularly, but this can happen, that whatever the changes the writing thread has done to it, that changes is not being properly propagated to the reading threads. So if you use synchronize, what happens is whenever the synchronized block is finished, all the changes in the local registers are pushed to the main memory. There is one another way in which you can do it, that is using the volatile keyword for all those variables which are being changed inside the synchronized block. So in volatile keywords, whatever changes happen in the volatile marked variable, the changes are always pushed to the main memory, and the changes are also kept in the CPU cache, but the reads and the writes are always made from the main memory itself. The third concept that I want to talk to you about is the reentrance nature of the synchronized block. Now we know that inside if you have taken an object and if you have acquired a lock of the object, now what if you want to, the same thread which has taken a lock of the object, what if that thread itself wants to access the code again? Now you might say that when will that happen? A simple example is recursion. Let's say you have entered a function, you created a synchronized block, and inside the synchronized block you are recursively calling the same function. Now the same thread will try to enter the synchronized block again, but since the lock object is already acquired, now will it be able to enter the synchronized block? And if it is not able to enter the synchronized block, then there will be a deadlock, because the same thread is waiting for the same thread to release the lock, and that same thread is waiting for the same thread to acquire the lock again. So there will be a deadlock. But thankfully Java has identified this issue, and they had made sure that if the thread which had acquired a lock using the synchronize method can re-enter the lock, only other threads can't enter. This is a very important functionality in case of recursive codes which needs synchronization. So in this lecture we have to summarize this lecture, we have gone through 3 very important concepts. One is the reentrance nature of the synchronized block. Second is the visibility nature of the multi-threaded environment, that is, even if you don't the multiple threads are not trying to modify a shared resource, you might have to use synchronized block, or you might have to mark your variables as volatile. And the third is which objects should you take as locks. We had figured out that it is always better to create separate objects for separate locks on code blocks if the blocks themselves don't require to be mutually exclusive. So thank you, and if you like this video, please give me a like and subscribe to the channel. It will be very big help, friends. Thank you.